Good morning, Zack. What would you like to focus on today?
I've been feeling pretty lost lately. On paper, everything looks great. I have an MBA from Harvard. I'm making good money as a consultant. I'm constantly traveling, but I just feel so unfulfilled. I don't even have a home because I'm living out of hotels all the time, and my fiance dumped me a few months ago. I guess I'm just struggling to find my purpose and real happiness.
I'm sorry to hear that you're going through a challenging time, Zack. It's courageous of you to open up about it. Let's see if we can gain some clarity today. When you say you feel lost and unfulfilled, what does that look like for you? Paint me a picture of how you experience that day to day.
Day to day, I wake up in another generic hotel room, put on my suit, and spend my days in client meetings or making PowerPoint presentations. I'm good at what I do, but it all feels so meaningless. Like I'm going through the motions, but not actually creating anything of real value. And then in my downtime, I either use my hotel points to take lavish vacations alone or I crash with friends. But it's a lonely existence. When Sarah left me, it really hammered home how empty a lot of my life and achievements feel. I've worked so hard, but for what?
That does sound like a difficult and draining cycle to be in. I'm hearing that there's a huge gap between outward markings of success in your life and your inner emotional experience. And it seems like the breakup with Sarah really highlighted that disconnect for you in a painful way. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that sums it up well. I've been an overachiever my whole life, always striving, always accomplishing the next big goal. But somewhere along the way, I lost touch with myself and what really matters to me. Now I've arrived at this successful place and I realize I'm miserable. And I don't even know where to begin to change it.
I appreciate you sharing so openly, Zach. It's not easy to admit when we're struggling, especially when we're used to being the high achiever. Let's slow down for a moment and really look at this. You said you lost touch with yourself somewhere along the way. When you reflect back, was there a time where you felt more aligned and fulfilled? A time before you felt that you were on this achievement treadmill?
Honestly, even back in college, I was pretty achievement focused. I had a really rough patch with depression and some suicidal thoughts. I think overachieving was my way of trying to outrun those feelings. But there was a brief time after graduation before I started at the firm that I took a few months to backpack around South America. I was so much lighter and more carefree then, more in touch with a sense of adventure and curiosity about life. Of course, then I put my nose right back to the grindstone.
I'm glad you mentioned your past struggles with depression and suicidal thoughts. I know those are heavy experiences to carry. Are you still having thoughts of suicide? I want to make sure you're getting the support you need, and there's no shame in reaching out for professional help, just like you're doing here with coaching.
I really appreciate you asking. Those thoughts do still come up sometimes when I'm feeling really low and hopeless about my life, but I'm not in danger of acting on them. I've been down that road before and I know where to turn for help if it gets to that point again. Mostly the depression these days is about feeling directionless and empty.
I'm relieved to hear that you're not in imminent danger, and I hope you won't hesitate to reach out if those thoughts do intensify. Your life has value, even if you can't always feel it. So now I'm curious about that time you spent in South America. It sounds like you connected with a different part of yourself there, a part that wasn't so focused on external achievement. What qualities in you came alive during that time?
I felt alive in a way I hadn't before, with a sense that the world was full of possibilities and adventures. I was open to new experiences, connecting with people from all walks of life. I felt this inner spark of curiosity and meaning that wasn't dependent on what I was achieving. It was about experiencing life fully. But it's like that all got shut away again when I entered the working world. I thought I needed to be serious, buckle down, strive to be at the top of my game, pile on the accolades and accomplishments, and bit by bit, that inner spark got snuffed out by the grind.
What I'm hearing is there's a part of you that knows how to be open, curious, and adventurous, that feels a sense of meaning in experiencing life fully, and that part of you is still in there, even if it's been languishing while you've been on this on the grind. It takes a lot of insight to recognize the ways that we abandon ourselves in order to pursue what we think we should want, and that external validation, those accolades, that success, it can be like a drug, pushing us to keep achieving even when it's not fulfilling. The question now is, how can you begin to nurture that other part of yourself again, the part that feels a sense of inner meaning, not dependent on the outward markers of success?
Honestly, I have no idea. My whole identity has been wrapped up in being an elite achiever for so long. Who am I if I'm not striving for the next accolade? It's terrifying to even consider letting that go. But I also know I can't keep living like this. I'm suffocating in this life I've built. I want to find my way back to that sense of meaning and adventure I once touched, but I don't know how.
Well, Zach, you've taken a huge step today by just acknowledging the problem and your desire for something more. Change is always scary, especially when we're considering major shifts to how we see ourselves and how we show up within the world. But I want to reflect something back to you. That inner spark, that sense of openness and meaning, it's not something that you have to go on a quest to find. It's already a part of you. It never left. Even when you couldn't feel it, it was still there beneath the surface, and it's still there now. Your authentic self knows how to connect to meaning beyond accomplishments. And it may take some time to brush the dust off the cobwebs and strengthen that muscle, so to speak, but it's there. And I know it can be terrifying to loosen your grip on this identity that you've built because it's familiar. And loosening your grip on it can be quite painful. And but you're already kind of in pain living this life that you've built for yourself. So as we start to explore what's next, I want to invite you to anchor into knowing that your worthiness is intrinsic. It doesn't come from your degrees or salary or being the best in your field. You are worthy and valuable simply because you exist. No accomplishment can increase that, and no failure can diminish that. And that's the ground that we'll start from as we look at where you want to go from here. How does that land for you?
It's hard for me to wrap my head around that idea that I'm intrinsically worthy. I know intellectually that it's true, but I'm not sure I believe it deep down. My whole life, I've used my achievements as a way to prove my worth to myself and to the world. The idea of letting that go, of trying to find value in myself beyond what I can achieve, it's terrifying. What if I look inside and don't find anything? Or what if I can't hack it in the real world without my elite credentials propping me up? I've invested so much in this identity, I don't know who I am without it, but I also know I'm slowly dying inside living like this. I can't keep pouring all my energy into something that leaves me so empty. I have to believe there's more to me and to life than this. I want to find the courage to start looking, even though I'm scared as hell.
Zach, what you're feeling is so human and understandable. Most of us have learned to tie our worth to our external markers, our achievements. What others think of, um, what others think of us, and how well we play the games of life, that pattern, it's not easy to unwind. But please, hear this. The fear you're feeling, the fear of looking inside and not finding anything valuable, that's just your insecure ego talking. It wants to keep you on this treadmill in the grind because that's what makes it feel safe, and that's what it knows. But the truth is, you already have everything you need inside to face the world and face whatever challenges come your way, to build that meaningful life. It's already there. It's already within you. Your value is unconditional. And part of our work together will be practicing and remembering that. Even when the old fears and doubts get loud, we're going to learn how to kind of recognize that and work through it. And it's okay to be scared because transition and uncertainty are always uncomfortable, always, every single time. The key is to not let the fear make your choices for you. You get to choose what you believe about yourself. You get to decide what really matters to you beyond your accolades or job or status or whatever. And it's a process, and you don't have to have it all figured out overnight. But the willingness to begin, to just take one small step in that new direction, that's where the power is. And a small step could be something so small. It could be, spending 5 minutes doing something different, just something to disrupt that achievement, and kind of get you out of the grind, even if it's just for a little bit, whether that's once a week, once a day, whatever. Uh, as long as we can start, that's where we'll begin. So, what's one tiny step you could take this week to start connecting with that inner spark again?
I like the idea of small steps. Trying to overhaul my entire life overnight is too overwhelming, but I could commit to taking a few minutes each morning to just be with myself. No agenda, no problem solving, just present and curious. And maybe I could start actively seeking out one new experience each week, trying a new restaurant alone, going to a park I've never explored, anything to break my routine a bit and engage with the world in a different way. Honestly, even considering shifting my focus like this brings up a lot of anxiety for me. I've been on this achieving hamster wheel for so long, it feels irresponsible and indulgent to step off even for a moment. But I know that's just my fear talking. I want to believe that I'm valuable beyond my achievements, that I'm allowed to prioritize my own fulfillment, even if it means letting go of some of the striving. It feels selfish in a way, but maybe that's what I need to be right now. Selfish in the service of finding a more sustainable way to live. This is going to be a challenging journey for me. I've got a lot of mental patterns to rewire, but I want to commit to taking these small steps, even when it's uncomfortable. I don't want achievement to be my drug of choice anymore. I want to build a life of real meaning, and I'm willing to start where I am.
Zach, I am truly inspired by your willingness to embark on this journey. Redefining our self worth and creating a life of meaning is some of the bravest, most important work we can do. And you're right, it's not selfish, it's the ultimate form of self care and personal responsibility. Those small steps you've outlined are a great place to start. Spending a few minutes each morning just being with yourself, no agenda. That's a powerful way to start rebuilding a relationship with your inner self. And actively seeking out new experiences each week, that's planting seeds for a life of growth and discovery, not just staying on the grind and staying on that hamster wheel. And the anxiety and resistance you feel is totally normal. Your achiever pattern has been your survival strategy for a long time. And it makes sense that your psyche wants to hold on to them. But every time you choose something different, even in a small way, you're building a new muscle and you're teaching yourself that you can handle discomfort in service of living a more authentic life. Look, Zach, it's a step by step, day by day process. There'll be times where you'll fall back into old patterns, and that's part of the journey. The key is to keep redirecting, keep choosing a new path, even when it's hard, and surround yourself with the support you need along the way. And as your coach, I want to remind you that I'm here for you, and I want to remind you especially that your intrinsic worth to hold the space for growth and to challenge you to keep taking those small steps towards meaning. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep showing up for yourself one choice at a time. And I have complete faith that you will succeed, not because of your degrees or career or where you went to school, but because you have the courage and self honesty that you're bringing to this process. And that's the real measure of character. And it will definitely carry you through. So, how about this? It sounds like you have a plan for what you want to accomplish this week. When we come back and start our next session, why don't we start with a reflection on how those small steps are going? And as we proceed, we can troubleshoot any challenges you may face or celebrate any wins, no matter how tiny. And we'll just keep calibrating and learning as we go. How does that sound?
That sounds good. Thank you, Robert.
Well, great. Well, Zach, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I look forward to chatting with you again soon and hearing how your transformational experience is going one tiny step at a time. Thanks. And that wraps up today's session with Zach on the Conscious Leader podcast. Now, this was an incredible conversation and really highlighted some key lessons that we can all take to heart. Zach's story reminds us that no matter how successful we may appear on the outside, it's our inner fulfillment that truly counts. We explored the importance of reconnecting with the parts of ourselves that make us feel alive and curious, even when life has pushed us to prioritize our achievements and career over our own authenticity. And some key takeaways from today's episode is you need to start small. Don't try to change your whole life or start a new career or kind of do these big leaps. Sometimes those are warranted, but more often than not, it's the small, deliberate changes that build and compound over time to really give us purpose and meaning in life. Now, I encourage you to reflect on Zach's journey and consider your own life. I'm assuming that since you're listening to this podcast, you are probably a type A personality, someone that has had some success in your life so far, and maybe probably feel at times lots of the way Zach does, where that job, that career may not be as fulfilling as you like all the time. And so I ask you, what's a small step that you can take this week to move yourself towards a more meaningful and balanced existence? How can you begin to reconnect with that inner spark? If you found this episode insightful, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Your support means everything to me, and it really truly helps me kind of share my spiritual beliefs and practices and coaching philosophies with a larger audience. And I should also say that I am a coach. I'm a business coach, an executive coach. And if you would like to reach out and schedule a call, I'd be happy to chat about my services with you. Remember, the journey to a fulfilling life is ongoing, and it starts with the courage to take that first step. Thank you for joining us on The Conscious Leader. And until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep believing in the power of your own transformation. Thank you, everybody. God bless and have a wonderful day.